The Sunrise Diner hummed like a beehive at dawn, its vinyl booths packed with truckers and construction workers fueling up on cholesterol-laden breakfasts. 23-year-old Mia Carter wove through the chaos with practiced ease, her apron pockets stuffed with extra ketchup packets and her sneakers squeaking against the greasy linoleum. She knew every regular by name, their coffee orders, their favorite booth, even which ones needed a gentle nudge to leave a tip. But today, her usual smile felt strained as she delivered a stack of blueberry pancakes to table 7. Through the streaked window, her gaze kept snagging on the golden blur curled near the curb. The puppy was so still she'd mistaken him for a discarded sweater at first glance. Up close, the truth was worse. His coat, what should have been a luxurious golden mane, was matted with dirt and what smelled suspiciously like motor oil. When he lifted his head at the scent of bacon, Mia counted 3 ribs visible beneath his patchy fur. But it was his eyes that undid her, huge, amber-colored, and eerily patient. No barking, no jumping, just silent hope as customers brushed past him, their takeout bags dripping grease onto the sidewalk. "Hey, little guy," Mia murmured under her breath, her fingers tightening around her tray. The pup's tail gave a half-hearted thump against concrete. She'd seen strays before. The diner's dumpster attracted everything from raccoons to feral cats. But this felt different. This dog had known kindness once. The way he watched the door with quiet expectations suggested someone, somewhere, had taught him humans could be trusted. Mr. Grady's voice sliced through her thoughts like a cleaver. "Table 12's waffles are dying under the heat lamp, Carter." The diner owner stood by the pass-through, his meaty arms crossed over a stained white shirt. At 65, with a face like a deflated football, Vincent Grady ran his establishment with military precision. No deviations, no exceptions, especially not for what he called disease-ridden mutts. Mia hesitated at the dish pit, watching as a busboy scraped an entire uneaten omelet into the trash. The injustice burned in her throat. 3 seconds later, she was wrapping the leftovers in foil, her heart hammering as she added a stolen handful of bacon from the prep station. The puppy flinched when Mia pushed through the diner's back door, his body tensing as if expecting a kick. Up close, she could see the raw patch on his shoulder, a wound the size of a quarter, pink and glistening under clumped fur. "It's okay," she whispered, crouching slowly. The foil packet crinkled as she unfolded it on the pavement. "Look what I brought you." The transformation was heartbreaking. One sniff of the bacon, and the pup's entire body began to tremble. He inhaled the food in 4 frantic gulps, then licked the foil so vigorously it stuck to his tongue. Mia laughed wetly as she pried it loose, her fingers tracing the ridge of his spine. "Jesus, you're skin and bones," she murmured. That's when she felt it, a stiff loop beneath his matted chest fur, a collar. The cracked leather bore only one discernible word stamped in faded letters: Scout. "Harper!" Grady's roar made them both jump. The diner owner loomed in the doorway, his face purpling beneath his cap. "What did I just tell you about?" His beady eyes locked onto the now empty foil. "Are you feeding that damn dog?" Mia stood, wiping her hands on her apron. "It was going in the trash anyway. Look, he's got a collar." "I don't care if he's wearing a diamond tiara." Grady snatched her elbow, dragging her inside as Scout whined. The diner fell silent as he shoved her toward the kitchen. "You're done. Clock out and get your crap." The walk of shame past gawking customers burned worse than the dismissal. Mia's cheeks flamed as she grabbed her backpack from the locker, her mind already tallying rent due in 9 days. But when she stepped back into the alley, Scout was waiting, his tail wagging in hesitant sweeps, as if asking, "Did I do something wrong?" That's when the black SUV pulled up. The vehicle glided to the curb with the quiet hum of expensive engineering. Mia instinctively shielded Scout as the driver's door opened, revealing a man who looked wildly out of place in their greasy alley. Mid-40s, with salt and pepper hair and a navy suit that probably cost more than Mia's car. His polished Oxfords didn't so much as flinch at the puddle of fryer grease as he approached. "That's my daughter's dog," he said without preamble, his voice calm but edged with something raw. Close up, Mia noticed the shadows under his eyes, the kind carved by sleepless nights. Scout's reaction was instantaneous. The pup rocketed forward with a yelp, nearly tripping over his own paws as he crashed into the man's legs. The stranger's composure cracked as he knelt, his hands cradling the dirty golden retriever like priceless porcelain. "You idiot," he whispered into Scout's fur, his voice thick. "We've been looking for you for 11 days. Mia's throat tightened. She should leave. But the question slipped out. What happened to him? The man, Daniel Hartman, as he introduced himself, explained in clipped sentences. Scout was an emotional support animal for his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. There'd been a thunderstorm, a gate left unlatched in panic. The raw patch on Scout's shoulder, a burn from a homeless man's cigarette, according to the vet who treated him after animal control found him 5 days later. Scout had bolted from the shelter during intake. He was heading back to the last place someone showed him kindness, Daniel said, his fingers pausing over the wound. His gaze lifted to Mia's name tag, still pinned to her shirt, which appears to be you. The business card he pressed into her palm felt heavier than it should. PAWSOFHOPERESCUE, embossed in gold foil, with an address in the city's revitalized district. We need people who understand that compassion isn't optional, Daniel said as Scout leaned against Mia's legs, his body warm and trusting between them. Be there tomorrow at 9. Pause of hope wasn't what Mia expected. The facility sprawled across a renovated warehouse, its walls painted with whimsical murals of dogs surfing and cats reading books. The receptionist, a pink-haired woman with a snake tattoo coiling up her neck, greeted Mia by name before she could introduce herself. Daniel appeared moments later, now in jeans and a rescue-branded hoodie. To her first, he said, leading her past a glass-walled veterinary suite where a 3-legged pit bull snoozed post-surgery. Then we'll talk about why Grady really fired you. The revelation came in the behavior assessment room, where a monitor played security footage from Grady's own diner. The timestamp showed 3:17 a.m., 4 days before Mia's dismissal. The grainy image showed Grady swinging a broom at a pregnant tabby cat, his face twisted in rage as he chased her into the alley. Animal controls had 7 complaints about him since January, Daniel said grimly. No proof, until now. He paused as Mia's hands clenched. We think Scout was his tipping point. That dog's microchip links to my foundation. Grady would have known helping him might expose his cruelty. By lunchtime, Mia was elbow-deep in suds, bathing a shivering Chihuahua mix, her mind reeling. She'd expected to clean kennels today, not join some underground animal justice league. But when Daniel offered her a part-time position with a salary that would cover rent and groceries, she heard herself say yes before he finished the sentence. It wasn't until her 3rd day, as she sat cross-legged in the play yard with Scout dozing in her lap, that Lily Hartman finally visited. The little girl moved like a ghost in her princess rain boots, her eyes widening when she spotted Scout. You brought him home, she whispered to Mia, her small hands petting Scout's freshly groomed fur. Then with devastating simplicity, Daddy says you're a hero. Mia's vision blurred. In the glass reflection, she barely recognized herself. No apron, no name tag, but something brighter in her face. Something like purpose. The first brick came through Paws of Hope's front window at 3:42 a.m. Mia jolted awake to the shriek of the shelter's alarm, her heart hammering against her ribs as Tucker erupted into frantic barking. She stumbled to the security monitor in her tiny on-site apartment, a perk Daniel had insisted on after the first threatening phone call, and felt ice slide down her spine. There, in grainy black and white, stood Vincent Grady, not even trying to hide. He hurled the second brick with both hands, his face twisted into something unrecognizable under the parking lot lights. Glass exploded inward, scattering across the adoption lobby where children had painted paw prints on the walls just hours before. "Daniel, wake up!" Mia fumbled with her phone as she sprinted down the hallway, Tucker at her heels. By the time she reached the main building, the damage was done. Shards glittered like malignant stars across the Happy Tales photo wall. Pictures of adopted pets now lying in ruins. The brick that had shattered them lay ominously in the center of the room, wrapped in a familiar diner napkin. Scrawled in grease pencil, "You should have stayed gone." Daniel arrived within minutes, his normally composed demeanor fractured. "He crossed a line," he muttered, examining the brick with gloved hands. His fingers paused over something Mia hadn't noticed, a smear of dark fluid. "This isn't motor oil, it's blood." The security footage confirmed their worst fears. Before targeting the shelter, Grady had visited the nearby alley where stray cats congregated. The timestamp showed 3:15 a.m., 27 minutes of missing footage after that. Mia's hands shook as she dialed animal control. This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was a declaration of war. By dawn, the shelter had transformed into a command center. Mia hadn't realized the depth of Daniel's connections until she saw the conference room. Veterinary forensics experts analyzing the blood sample, a retired K-9 officer reviewing security tapes, and, most surprisingly, Lily's child psychologist sketching a behavioral profile of Grady based on his destruction patterns. "He's escalating because you're winning," Dr. Chen explained, tapping the brick photo. "His business is down 40% since the Yelp reviews about animal cruelty went viral. This," she gestured to the shattered glass, "this is the tantrum of a man who's lost control." Tucker whined, pressing his damp nose into Mia's palm. She absently scratched his ears, watching Daniel negotiate with a silver-haired woman in an FBI windbreaker. "We can't prove it was him," Mia said quietly. The security footage showed Grady's face clearly, but his lawyer would argue it was circumstantial. Dr. Chen smiled. "You don't need to prove it. You need to catch him in the act." The plan unfolded with military precision. A fake social media post about a secret shipment of rescued breeding dogs arriving at Paws of Hope. Discreet cameras installed along Grady's known routes. And the pièce de resistance, a decoy van parked behind the shelter with a very realistic sound system playing distressed whimpers. Mia's role was simple: be visible. Walk Tucker past Grady's diner twice daily. Mention the big rescue operation to former co-workers. Make herself an irresistible target. What no one anticipated was how Grady would change the game. Rain sheeted down on the night it happened, turning the shelter's parking lot into a black mirror. Mia paced by the decoy van, her raincoat hood pulled low. The audio loop of crying puppies played just loud enough to carry, or so the text assured her. Every rustle in the nearby woods made her grip Tucker's leash tighter. Then, at 11:08 p.m., the motion sensors triggered. Not at the van, at the kitten nursery. Mia sprinted through the downpour, Tucker pulling ahead with a hunter's focus. She rounded the corner just in time to see Grady's silhouette jimmying open a window. The nursery housed 17 neonatal kittens, orphans barely old enough to open their eyes. "Stop!" Her voice tore through the night. Grady turned, his face grotesque in the security light. In his hands gleamed the real horror. Not a crowbar, but a red gasoline can. The world narrowed to that sloshing container. Mia didn't remember releasing Tucker's leash. Only the primal snarl as her dog launched himself at Grady's arm. The gasoline arced through the air as they crashed to the pavement, the stench of fuel mixing with Grady's screamed obscenities. Then, beautiful, glorious sirens. Daniel's FBI contact had insisted on police backup, despite Mia's objections. Now, as three cruisers skidded into the lot, their lights painted Grady's face in alternating flashes of blue and terror. "You'll never prove anything," Grady spat as officers wrenched him upright. His gaze locked onto Mia, dripping wet with Tucker braced protectively against her legs. "This isn't over." The lead detective held up an evidence bag containing Grady's phone, its screen still displaying texts to an accomplice about burning the place down. "Oh," the detective said mildly, "I think it is." The courtroom smelled like lemon polish and stale coffee. Mia sat stiffly in the witness box, her palms damp against the wooden rail. She'd practiced her testimony a dozen times, but nothing prepared her for the visceral impact of seeing Grady in an orange jumpsuit, his sneer undimmed by handcuffs. "Miss Carter," the prosecutor began gently, "can you describe the moment you realized the defendant intended to set fire to live animals?" Behind her, someone gasped. "Lily," Mia realized. Daniel had brought her to watch justice be served. The words came easier then. She spoke of the gasoline smell, the vulnerable kittens, Tucker's bravery. When the security footage played, showing Grady's own flashlight illuminating the nursery's oxygen tanks, even the bailiff looked sick. The sentencing was swift. 5 years for arson, enhanced by animal cruelty statutes, a lifetime ban from owning or working with animals. And perhaps most poetic, community service at, of all places, the city animal shelter. Outside the courthouse, reporters clamored for quotes. Mia kept one hand on Tucker's head as Daniel fielded questions, until Lily tugged her sleeve. The girl held out a folded piece of notebook paper. Inside, colored in meticulous crayon, was a stick figure Mia with a golden halo, standing between a smiling Scout and a fiercely grinning Tucker. At the bottom, in wobbly letters, "Thank you for being their angel." As the cameras flashed, Mia knelt to hug Lily properly. The photo would grace the front page of the morning paper. The moment the waitress who saved a dog became the woman who changed an entire city's animal welfare laws. But in that quiet hug, with Tucker's tail thumping against her leg and Scout's warm weight leaning into her side, Mia knew the truth. They'd saved her right back. The morning sun painted the shelter's new sign in gold. Mia's Haven, where every life finds its second chance. Tucker barked excitedly as the ribbon fell, his tail a metronome of joy. Lily pressed her palm to the freshly painted wall, leaving a tiny handprint beside Scout's paw. Daniel handed Mia the keys, his voice thick with pride. "It's yours now, the waitress who fed one hungry pup and taught this town how to love fearlessly." As the crowd cheered, Mia knelt to ruffle Tucker's ears, the dog who'd fought beside her, the stray who'd started it all. Somewhere beyond the laughter, wind chimes sang, like the distant jingle of a diner door, closing softly on the past. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales like this. Until next time, take care.